Hello everyone. This is the 26th part of the story, Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Chapter 170, Universal Truth. In fact, before Ancient One left, she had planned this matter with Bruce. After the fake death of Ancient One, the whole Camartage would definitely have no leader, since Camartage was the Earth's magic holy place, and was a place for each of the Sorcerers Supreme to live. Once there was not a Sorcerer Supreme, then Camartage would definitely fall down, even the entire Masters organization would collapse. Therefore, they had to own a leader. And before Strange appeared, Ancient One had told everyone that Strange would be the next Sorcerer Supreme. She did this to make everyone have a psychological preparation. At the same time, she asked Bruce to take over the training of Dr. Strange, which was to make Strange fear Bruce in his heart. Then making Strange take on the responsibility of being Sorcerer Supreme willingly after Ancient One's fake death. All of this was planned well before. After that, Strange, Wong and others followed Bruce into the holy place of Hong Kong, and then they returned to Camartage through the portal. At the moment, Bruce took the Eye of Agamotto in his hand. What should we do next? The holy place of New York and London have been destroyed and they must be rebuilt, Wong said while looking at Bruce. Now he did not have any idea how to deal with these things. Originally, these things all belonged to Ancient One's eldest disciple, Mordo, to deal with. But now, Mordo has left Camartage. As for Dr. Strange, Wong thought that he had no ability to deal with these things. And although Bruce was not a disciple of Ancient One, he had an important status in Camartage, so Wong wanted Bruce to decide on this matter. After all masters in Camartage had seen Bruce's strength and good character. Coupled with Dormammu's invasion of the Earth this time, it was Bruce who dealt with it on his own. Therefore, if this thing was decided by Bruce, it would be better. After hearing Wong's words, Bruce nodded. He looked at the two people in the present and said, "Wong, you go to deal with the reconstruction of the two great holy places. By the way, you will summon all the masters of Camartage tomorrow. Let's discuss the next Sorcerer Supreme." When Bruce said that, the two people present were shocked. The next Sorcerer Supreme? That was the leader of the entire magic world. Unlike the plots in comics, the Sorcerer Supreme in comics needed to get through competitions. Only the most powerful masters could become the Sorcerer Supreme. But in the film, it had always been determined by the previous Sorcerer Supreme who would be the next Sorcerer Supreme, or chose by all the masters of Camartage. Master has just passed away, and now we are going to choose the Sorcerer Supreme. I'm afraid it's not okay. Wong said his doubts. Although he knew that the matter was of great importance, Ancient One had just left for less than a few days. Therefore, he believed that they could not elect the next Sorcerer Supreme. The Sorcerer Supreme represents the leader of the magic world, shouldering the burden of leading the magic world to protect the real world. Although Dormammu was defeated this time, it does not mean Dormammu would not return to Earth again. Therefore, electing the next Sorcerer Supreme is not allowed to delay. Bruce said. Although all more powerful masters on the Earth gathered in Camartage. And these masters were basically the faithful believers of Ancient One. Therefore, even if Ancient One had passed away, they would not do things they should not do just because they suddenly have no rules. But except the masters of Camartage, no one could guarantee that other masters would do something without being bound by the Sorcerer Supreme. Therefore, they must immediately elect the next Sorcerer Supreme, because the magic world could not have a leader. Who will become the Sorcerer Supreme? We should recommend a person who can convince all of us. At the moment, Strange said, with confusion on his face. If Mordo did not leave, he would definitely be qualified to be the Sorcerer Supreme. But now, Mordo has left. More importantly, they could not be sure Mordo was a friend or an enemy after he changed his mind. After all, it was a normal thing that an original and benevolent one in the real world suddenly turned into a demon-killing spree after being stimulated. Therefore, it was very difficult for them to elect a person that everyone was convinced of. When Strange said that, Wong and Bruce looked at him together. Strange, you're going to be the next Sorcerer Supreme, and Camartage selection is just a show. Bruce looked at the eyes of Strange and said very seriously. But Strange's face changed after hearing these words. He would be the next Sorcerer Supreme. At the moment, his eyes were full of astonishment. Even if Mordo was not here, it would not be his turn. After all, there were also Wang and many other masters who were more powerful than him in Camartage. Although Strange thought he was very talented, he knew that he had just started practicing magic, and there were more powerful masters than him. Therefore, the position of the Sorcerer Supreme was impossible for him to own. This is Master Ancient One's decision. Wang saw Strange's confusion and said this directly. And at this moment, Strange finally understood why he was personally taught by Bruce and Ancient One. He also understood why the Ancient One said those words to him before she died. He had been in touch with the Book of Cagliostro before. Therefore, he was very clear that using the Eye of Agamotto could see the future. Since Master Ancient One decided to let him be the next Sorcerer Supreme, it must be that she had seen the future through the Eye of Agamotto. Therefore, all of this was already doomed. But, this also meant that he had to shoulder an inevitable responsibility that he never wanted to shoulder. At the moment, Strange completely understood the previous Bruce's training and Ancient One's earnest words. But after Bruce's training, Strange would not think about the problem like before. At the moment, his idea was that since Ancient One had already determined that he was the Sorcerer Supreme, he should shoulder the responsibility. But at the same time, he still hesitated to say, "Am I really competent? I'm not ready." Strange was still a little uncertain whether he could really take this responsibility. After all, he did not prepare at all before. There are too many things that you have not prepared, but most importantly, do you want to shoulder this responsibility? At the moment, Bruce looked at Strange and said once more, his eyes were full of calm. This was Ancient One's instruction. Only the next Sorcerer Supreme was really born, she would completely put down the burden. I can try. At this moment, Strange was very uncertain, and he did not know what to do next. But Rational and Bruce's eyes told him that this was the responsibility that he could not shirk. And after hearing his words, Bruce slowly nodded, "Wang, go to prepare this. Let's gather all the masters tomorrow." The present Bruce had become a temporary leader of Camartage. This was what the powerful strength brought. As long as you have strong power, you would be respected by everyone. This was an eternal truth. Chapter 171, Succession. At this time, Wang had already gone to prepare for things of the next Sorcerer Supreme. As for the election of the Masters of Camartage, it was not important, because it was just a show. Almost everyone knew that Strange would be the next Sorcerer Supreme when he came to Camartage at first. It was just that without the permission of Master Ancient One, no one could tell Strange. Bruce returned to his room with Strange. On the way, Strange was a little confused. Although he had promised that he would inherit the next Sorcerer Supreme's position, he still felt that everything was too unreal. From a modern society elite, a hugely famous medical doctor, to the Sorcerer Supreme of the magic world. Everything was like a dream. If someone told these things to Strange who had not been injured, he would only dismiss them. But now it was not the same, he looked like he really knew the essence of the world. But just like what he said, he was not ready. "Mr. Bruce, will I really be able to do all this?" At the moment, Strange looked at Bruce and asked. He was still very uncertain. "You're the best among them." "That's not what I said, but Ancient One said. As long as you follow your heart, everything will be okay." Bruce smiled and he could well understand the thoughts of Strange. Being the Sorcerer Supreme to protect the real world was a little abnormal. After hearing Bruce's words, Strange was in deep thought. He did not know whether he was qualified, but now he was willing to try. "Well, Mr. Bruce, I will do it." At this moment, Strange had completely accepted these, and a solemn expression appeared on his face. And Bruce had already known that Strange had completely accepted these and did not say anything more. What Ancient One said to him, he had finally completed. As for what Strange would do in the future, he didn't care. Since Ancient One said that Strange was the best among all the Sorcerer Supreme, so he was not worried about it. But the present Bruce still wanted to take a look at after the formal succession of Strange, what abilities he would have. In Camartage, every Sorcerer Supreme would open a special ceremony before succession. Only after the success of the ceremony could he be truly called the Sorcerer Supreme. In that ceremony, the successor could even accept the supreme magic heritage of the last Sorcerer Supreme. At the same time, according to Bruce's estimation, even if Strange became the Sorcerer Supreme, his abilities were definitely incomplete. Incomplete ability meant that Bruce needed only a few of the energy value to complete the whole ability. In that way, he could reserve enough energy for himself. Therefore, when facing the same situation like he was the first time to meet Ancient One, at that time, he would have enough energy value to download her abilities. Soon, Strange left. At the moment, Bruce calmed down his mind and began to study those magi books as usual. He had learned a lot from these books. And these knowledge allowed Bruce to more fully understand the world. In fact, in the Marvel world, no matter if it was the negative character or the superheroes, they were all very outstanding figures. For example, Strange, Dr. Banner, they were all so. As for little Spider-Man, he was also a true well-educated person, especially in comics, and he even created the pack industry and became a billionaire like Stark. Therefore, Bruce had to work hard on this point. Because knowledge was very important in this world. After all, he would contact the universe in the future, while the universe was very vast, and if he had not enough relevant knowledge, it would be very difficult for him to understand the universe. As for the more than 100,000 energy value, Bruce had not used it for the time being. There would be more important things to do tomorrow. Finally, the next day came. The whole Camartage became different from usual because of Ancient One's departure. All the masters had come to the central temple. Yesterday, Wang had completely informed them, so today, the next Sorcerer Supreme would be elected. No one would ignore it. Although Master Ancient One died, the next Sorcerer Supreme was also very important. At this moment, there were many masters in Camartage. And Wang, as the most powerful disciple of Ancient One, adding that he had a good strength, presided over the succession ceremony. As for Bruce, although he was not a member of Camartage, he still had the qualification to join in this succession ceremony. Then everyone came to the square of Camartage. The square did not have much change, only adding one altar. The altar was built on a temporary basis, especially those lines above, which had a simple and mysterious smell. It was said that China was the birthplace of magic in the Marvel world. Of course, it did not matter. The main role of the altar in this ceremony was to worship the Sorcerer Supreme of the past dynasties and inform them that the new Sorcerer Supreme was about to come. This kind of religious ritual made Bruce feel very mysterious. At that moment, Strange slowly walked towards her from a distance. Behind him was Wang and some powerful masters. In fact, they had finished the election in yesterday night. The successor of Strange to the Sorcerer Supreme was assigned by Ancient One. Therefore, no one would doubt it. And with the support of Wang and Bruce, it could be said that the succession was very smooth. When Strange came to the altar, he slowly walked on the altar with encouragement from the Wang's eyes. Then he slowly sat down on the altar and held a special seal on his hand. After all the Master's certifications, Stephen Vincent Strange, who will officially succeed to the throne of the Sorcerer Supreme, pray to the Sorcerer Supreme of the past generations to give blessings. A relatively high-ranking master walked out and he looked at the people present and said these. As soon as he finished his words, all the masters on the scene sat down. Then they held their seal and played various magics. Under the influence of these magic powers, the engraved lines of the altar flew out at once. Each line was very old and abstruse, and even some senior masters did not know what they meant. This was the inscription of magic, and only those who have lived for a long time knew that. Bruce also knew that, after all, he had almost read all of the collection books of Ancient One. The general meaning of these lines was to inform heaven and earth and ask the ancients to bless them. It was a bit similar to the ancient Chinese altar. And after all the lines emerged, the whole sky became gray. In the sky, a mysterious power descended. Then under the influence of countless lines, this mysterious power was completely integrated into the body of Strange. Chapter 172, Awakening. This power was based on the accumulation of the magic power of the Sorcerer Supreme in the past dynasties. After the ceremony, Strange would acquire his own talent abilities, and at the same time, he had a certain chance to obtain the abilities of the Sorcerer Supreme of the past dynasties, which meant that he would become a true Sorcerer Supreme at that time. The process of the ceremony was long and cumbersome, but Bruce was always patiently waiting on the scene. The masters present were also very serious, because it was a ceremony about the next leader of the magic world. No one did not give attention to it. After more than 2 hours, the ceremony was completed. Under the baptism of the mysterious power, the various magic abilities of Strange were also completely awakened now. Especially those magics that he did not cultivate before, or had cultivated half. This time under the baptism of this mysterious power, Strange was directly obtained. But such a ceremony could not turn an ordinary person to be as powerful as the Ancient One. Therefore, what Strange got were incomplete abilities, and he needed to work hard in the future to make up for it. Generally speaking, in this aspect of practicing magic, the greater the age, the stronger the power would be. Except for some genius masters, like Strange, who would go beyond Wang in a very short time. This was called the gift. Then the next thing was that Strange blessed the masters present. Every Sorcerer Supreme would need to do this. Finally, after everything was finished, all the masters left. The new Sorcerer Supreme appeared and he would lead all the masters in the earth to protect the real world. When Strange came to Bruce, he was already very tired, because the ceremony was very cumbersome and complex. At this moment, Strange looked at Bruce bitterly and said, "I really didn't expect that to be the Sorcerer Supreme was more troublesome than when I wrote the paper." After hearing these words, Bruce just shrugged. Strange's words, of course, did not have other meaning. It was just that he felt more and more sense of responsibility in this ceremony. Therefore, he must be careful at all times. "Congratulations, Sorcerer Supreme." Bruce stretched out his palm at this moment and looked at Strange in front of him. After hearing Bruce's words, Strange took a deep breath. In front of Bruce, he did not dare to put on airs, and then he also stretched out his palm. "Thank you, Bruce." At the moment they touched, Strange's information and abilities were clearly presented in Bruce's mind. Name, Stephen Vincent Strange. Identity, Surgeon, Sorcerer Supreme, Guardian of the Real World. Ability, Supreme Magic, Energy Value, 30W, Incomplete, Supreme Spiritual Power, Energy Value, 20W, Incomplete, Supreme Wisdom, Energy Value, 20W. Incomplete, Source of God's Power, Energy Value, 10W, Incomplete, Soul Astral, Energy Value, 5W, Invisible, Energy Value, 3W, Spatial Flow, Energy Value, 3W, Perception, Energy Value, 2W, Air Separation Call, Energy Value, 2W. These were the abilities of the present Strange. Of course, these abilities are not all the abilities of a Dr. Strange. In fact, Strange would grow continuously and he would acquire more and more abilities. If Bruce's guess was right, that mysterious power was the supreme power in the ceremony. That was the supreme magic, supreme spiritual power, supreme wisdom. These three consisted of the legendary supreme power. Only by possessing such power could he be called the Sorcerer Supreme. Unfortunately, the amount of energy value needed to download the three forces was too much. Even Bruce, who now had more than tens of thousand energy value, had to continue to wait. This made Bruce sigh in his heart. It was indeed a person who was called the Sorcerer Supreme. These abilities were much stronger than those of ordinary supernatural people. And it was also precisely because of these powerful abilities so that the Strange would be very relaxed when he dealt with Thor. Now that these three abilities could not be downloaded, Bruce had to choose other abilities. More importantly, he still had chances to contact Strange in the future. Therefore, Bruce started to check Strange's other abilities one by one. But these following abilities were not what he wanted. Because actually he did not need those abilities in Strange. Yet one ability attracted Bruce's attention, which was the source of God's power. Once he owned the source of God's power, he was able to continuously supplement his magic power at any time and any place. The magic energy could be used in almost all parts of the universe, whether on Earth or elsewhere. Otherwise, after the plot of the Avengers Alliance 3, why Strange was still able to use magic when he was on Titan? It was just because no matter where he was in this universe, Strange could absorb magic power relying on this ability. The basic function of this ability was similar to the dark magic energy ability of Dormammu. And Dormammu also relied on this ability to own infinite power. Therefore, this was also the most satisfying ability among the abilities that Bruce could download from Strange. If Bruce had such power, he was able to absorb the magic energy continuously in the battle, so that he could fight without knowing tiredness and he would not worry about the exhaustion of energy. Unlike before, he always felt very tired after he used the power of the thunder and lightning many times because of the exhaustion of energy. Therefore, basically, the role of this ability was that it could greatly increase Bruce's battle persistence. At this moment, Bruce did not hesitate to choose to download the source of God's power of Strange. Beep, the connection is successful. Beep, the energy value of downloading God's power requires 10W. Yes or no? 100000 energy value. At the moment, Bruce was very distressed. Because he needed to take a long time to save 100,000 energy values. Plus he had no new system tasks to get more energy value now, which made him more helpless. But he could not give up this ability, because this mattered if he would have enough fighting force when he walked out from the Earth in the future. Whereafter, Bruce directly chose yes. Beep, the download was successful. Beep, congratulations to the host for getting the ability source of God's power. At the moment, the sound of the system came and a smile appeared on Bruce's face. Even if it was an incomplete ability, Bruce could also completely repair these abilities through the system. At this moment, Strange loosened his hand holding Bruce. His strength was not comparable to Ancient One, therefore, he naturally did not know what Bruce was doing now. Bruce, if you don't help me, I'm afraid that I can't understand these things until now. It was precisely because of Bruce that he was on the path of this magic. Therefore, it could be said that without Bruce, there would be no present Sorcerer Supreme. And Bruce of course knew Strange's thoughts now. He knew that he was of great importance to Strange. Or in other words, he had succeeded in brainwashing Dr. Strange. Chapter 173, Upgrade. Whereafter, Strange would completely follow his orders. As long as it was Bruce's orders, Strange would definitely carry out it. Thinking of this, Bruce's eyes appeared with a hint of a smile. At the moment, he looked at Strange in front of him, who could also be called Dr. Strange. Next, I'll leave Camartage for some time. This was Bruce's plan, because after the plot of Dr. Strange, the last plot on Earth was about Parker. He had not seen Parker for a long time, and he planned to make all the things prepared before the Thanos came. After hearing Bruce's words, Dr. Strange was stunned at first and then felt a bit uncertain. It was precisely because Bruce was here, so it was so easy for him to become a Sorcerer Supreme. For him, Bruce was like a strong backer. More importantly, he had just succeeded to the position of the Sorcerer Supreme and he had a lot of things to do. Therefore, he needed Bruce's support, and now that Bruce suddenly left, it was undoubtedly a blow to him. I'm just succeeding in this position now. Are you going to leave? Can you help me here for a while? This was what Dr. Strange really wanted to say. Because only Bruce was here, he would be more confident. And Bruce had already guessed that he would say that. Even though Dr. Strange was ready now, no matter who it was, if he suddenly took the responsibility to guard the real world, he would also have no ideas of what he should do. Therefore, Strange's mind was very normal. There's a lot of things that you need to do by yourself. Everything is for the first time. You're an excellent surgeon. I believe you have such a mood when you firstly do surgery. I want to say that everything is from 0 to infinity and no one can always help you. At the moment, Bruce looked at Dr. Strange in front of him and said, this was also what he really wanted to say. If he wanted to make Strange grow up faster, it was necessary to let him deal with things alone in the future. After hearing Bruce's words, Dr. Strange was stunned at first and then nodded slightly. How could he not understand Bruce's meaning? Don't worry. I'll come back soon. At the moment, Bruce patted Dr. Strange's shoulder and smiled. And his words shocked Strange. Because with Bruce's words, he would not have too much hesitation to do anything. Because Bruce was still there, it was just a temporary departure. After Dormammu's things, he knew Bruce's importance to the magic world. Then they continued to speak for a while. Because Doctor Strange was just succeeding the position of the Sorcerer Supreme, he had a lot of things to deal with. And Bruce returned to his room alone. During this period, he had downloaded a lot of abilities, and it was time to choose some to upgrade. Then he closed all the doors, sat quietly and opened his own system panel. Name, Bruce Lite. Identity, Level 6 Agent. Ability, War God Body, God's Bloodline, Godly Fighting Ability, Control of Thunder and Lightning, Divine Power, Acer's Strength, Magic Ball, Body Blur, High-Speed Movement, Spider Telepathy, Body and Shield as One, Dark Magic Energy, Superhuman Telekinesis, Source of God's Power. Warehouse, Super Vibranium Shield, Mark Armor, Ant-Man's Battle Suit, Infinite Edition. Balance, 200 WUSD. Energy value, 3 W points. There was a more strong ability, which was also a small increase in Bruce's life. It was just that this ability was incomplete. Therefore, he needed to find a way to supplement it. But he did not do that immediately. Because he had 30,000 energy values now, it looked like a lot, but in fact, it was very small. Therefore, Bruce decided to upgrade his own abilities at first. Thinking of this, Bruce began to check his abilities. The first he wanted to upgrade was his superhuman telekinesis. Superhuman telekinesis was an unexpected means. Therefore, Bruce wanted to know that if he continued to upgrade, how powerful the ability could become. After all, he had gotten great improvements in the previous upgrade. At the moment, Bruce directly issued instructions to the system. System, upgrade superhuman telekinesis. At the moment when Bruce gave the order, the voice of the system came again. Beep, the energy value required for this upgrade is 3000, yes or no. As expected, the upgrade needed a considerable amount of energy value. But Bruce did not hesitate to choose yes directly. In a flash, the 3000 energy value in Bruce's hands turned into a powerful energy and constantly swarmed into his body. And in this instant, his mind changed dramatically. At this moment, Bruce was able to feel the move of any master living in Camartage, and without using his eyes, he could know what they were doing. It was like a holography, directly into his mind. He even felt the existence of the multiverse. It was just the vague perception that disappeared instantly. During the upgrade of the superhuman telekinesis, Bruce's understanding of the Earth in this world became more and more profound. At this moment, he could clearly perceive the entire Camartage and Mount Comolangma. Even as long as he had the intention, he could destroy the entire Camartage. It was extremely terrible. Because he could do it only by superhuman telekinesis. It would be difficult for others and even the gods in the Marvel world to do this. Nobody knew how long it took. When Bruce woke up again, the voice of the system came into his ears again. Beep, congratulations to the host for upgrading superhuman telekinesis successfully. Beep, congratulations to the host for acquiring new abilities, godly telekinesis. Godly telekinesis. When Bruce heard the voice of the system, his face changed slightly. In his last lifetime, he was a mysterious fan of fiction besides a senior movie fan. In the novel, a person who had been able to cultivate enough strength would produce a powerful force. That was godly telekinesis. Godly telekinesis could perceive everything around it, and it was a sense that transcended the sixth sense. It was just that kind of godly telekinesis that seemed to be different from his. Today, godly telekinesis that he owned could be summed up by one word: godly. How strong the idea of God was in the Marvel world. There was a god that could destroy a star in a moment of thought. As for the more powerful life form in the Marvel world, and gods here, this existence meant that even if he did not have the Infinity Stone, his one snapping finger could offset the impact which Thanos' snapped finger caused after he got 6 Infinity Gems, which was also called one of godly telekinesis. Chapter 174, Definition of Power. Although Bruce was not good enough as the true god now in terms of overall strength, he had been making progress in all aspects. And this was a good sign. In Bruce's view, his abilities of all aspects were evolving continuously. Although he could not compare with the true God, it would be possible if he wanted to suppress Thanos in the future. Of course, the condition was that Thanos did not gather all 6 Infinity Gems. If Thanos owned Infinity Gauntlet, his power may reach the universe level. When Bruce read the magic books before, he had seen roughly the level of the world's strength. Of course, this was a very vague division, not a real division. Because sometimes, there were also some powerful people, only because their abilities were restrained, so they could only show the strength that actually did not match their identity. And this division was graded according to magic books and Bruce's previous understanding. First, Earth level. These people were almost normal superheroes, such as Captain America, Iron Man and others. These superheroes all belonged to the power of the level Earth. Then it was the demigod level. The representative was Thanos, and the present Bruce also belonged to the peak demigod level. At this level, almost all were extremely powerful, and even had the power to destroy a race. After that, it was the god level. The representative was Ancient One and Odin. Then it was Thor who would totally awaken his abilities in the future. Such a person would often destroy a planet. And came in existences at universe level. Long ago, Bruce had contacted the Infinite Gems, but at that time, his power did not reach the universe level, so he could not download the Infinite Gems which belonged to the universe level. Therefore, only when Bruce reached the universe level could he download the Infinite Gems. And the universe level forces were also divided. The first tier within the level was the single universe tier. When Thanos owned 3 or 4 Infinity Gems, he belonged to this level. And the legendary Celestial which also belonged to the single universe tier. At this level, they could generally be able to lift all the Celestial and Earth levels, which were powerful and terrifying. After that, it was the multiverse tier. The existence of the multiverse tier could almost destroy a single universe, almost terror and invincible representatives. These people were powerful and mysterious, almost difficult to appear, such as the 5 gods, and the extinction of the infinite range of precious stones, which belonged to this level. Above the multiverse tier, there was also a super multiverse tier, which was already beyond the presence of God. They look down on all the diverse universes, and there are various universes that can interrogate everything. The super multiverse tier's representative was the Life Court. Above the super multiverse tier, there was the last tier in the level, the supreme multiverse tier. These people stood at the peak of the Marvel world and looked down at everything. They were truly beyond time and beyond the rules, and even they could make rules. They were the highest existence. And these representative figures were Thanos who had surpassed the universe. This was a rough division about the level of the whole Marvel world's strength. Of course, some people would be subject to some rules so that they could not play their full power. As for Thanos, he was a person who depended on powerful equipment. If he did not have these equipment, he was just an ordinary person when he faced these powerful figures. This division was graded according to magic books and Bruce's previous experience. Of course, this was also a vague division, not a true standard. But it could generally be divided into these levels, and the present Bruce was at the demigod level which could suppress the normal Thanos. But when Thanos gathered all 6 Infinity Gems, Bruce could not be able to deal with him. Therefore, Bruce had to find a way to improve his strength continuously. Because he did not have much time. At the moment, Bruce looked at his current abilities again and upgraded them with the energy value. Godly fighting ability and the god's bloodline were all abilities after the integration. Therefore, they needed a large amount of energy value in the process of upgrading, so Bruce was prepared to choose other abilities to upgrade. He then looked at the spider telepathy. This was the weakest ability that he had now, which had been downloaded from Parker. Spider telepathy brought great convenience to him in the early stage. He could sense the enemies in the battle because of this ability. It was just now that this ability could not keep up with his strength. Therefore, Bruce chose to upgrade directly. System, upgrade the spider telepathy. Beep, this upgrade requires 1000 energy values. Yes or no? When the voice of the system came and Bruce chose yes directly. Although 1000 of energy was a huge number, he was still willing to do so. And after he confirmed, all of Bruce's senses disappeared. At the moment, he seemed to be in a micro-world, unlike the previous god's telekinesis. When Bruce's god's telekinesis was upgraded, his perception included the whole universe. But when spider telepathy was upgraded, he entered a micro-world, which seemed to have felt the operation of all quantums. And this change has been continuing. It was a very amazing experience from the huge universe to the micro-world, and Bruce had been feeling all this. Beep, congratulations to the host for upgrading the spider telepathy successfully. Beep, congratulations to the host for acquiring a new ability, subatom telepathy. Again, the voice of the system made Bruce's eyes brighter. The name of the ability had changed, and its effect had also changed dramatically. Subatom telepathy could induce all crises in advance. Unlike God's telekinesis, the subatom telepathy could make him fully predict the crisis. And it was not the kind of crisis that could only be predicted after others had attacked. Instead, it would be possible for Bruce to predict one's actions before the enemy attacked. Therefore, it was equivalent to have foresight. With such power, when Bruce was in the war, he could greatly increase his combat strength. Therefore, 1000 energy values were very worthy. This marks the end of part 26 of the story Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.